Hello there and welcome to the Bitcoin Takeover podcast. This is season 17, episode 20. We are live with Amir Taaki, CEO or whatever, lead developer of DarkFi, who's holding a knife right now, showing off the skills that he learned during his military service.
The honor of Vlad.
We also have Halpin, CEO of Nym and one of the biggest privacy advocates in academia, and Christopher Cialone, or Cialone, I'm not sure how you pronounce your last name. And he is one of the biggest advocates for justice and freedom for the Samourai Wallet developers, as well as Roman Storm, lead developer of Tornado Cash. And this episode is sponsored by Cake Wallet, and you guys will receive some free Zcash if you install Cake Wallet. Siteshift.ai, Braiins Hash Power, Orange Rock, which is a new sponsor and it's a trading platform, which you can try, and Layer 2 Labs. It's really good to have you all. Harry, you're the first one to leave, I guess, so you get to talk first.
Yeah, so I think it might be, this was a bit unexpected, but I'm really glad to be here. One of the, I think, most important things that happened over the last few days is the mask has come off the kind of U.S. Military industrial complex. In particular, Alex Karp, the philosopher CEO of Palantir, he wrote a book, or ghost wrote perhaps, he has a co-author, a book called The Technological Republic that came out early last year. And in it, he basically argues for a combination of state and corporate power. In particular, he also calls for the development and acceleration of automated AI weapons and surveillance globally over the entire population, kind of in the name of national security. And it's very clear, he views kinds of, a lot of it is, I think, edgy in his mind, at least, where he believes, American culture is somehow self-evidently the best. We must defend Western values against everyone else who are regressive. And I do think, I don't completely disagree with everything he says. I do think there are differences between cultures, and a certain kind of liberal political correctness has gone too far. But his clear warmongering desire to create a giant surveillance state and increase automated killing for total U.S. technological dominance is, I think, very, very dangerous. It's particularly dangerous because Palantir is building not just U.S. surveillance mechanisms. It has contracts with many countries, including the British healthcare system, and also some European countries to build out their surveillance military capabilities. And essentially creating his own kind of privatized NSA with even less accountability than the NSA, or I guess Gestapo or Cheka had. And it's also very clear from reading his essay that he really does look down upon his enemies as subhuman. And this, I think, the combination of, particularly when you look at the total failure of the United States so far in the Iran war, this total delusional belief that we can simply automate death via drones, essentially targeting civilians via mass surveillance systems. And this is all a great thing to do in the name of Western values. This being said by a seemingly self-hating homosexual who clearly also hates women. I don't know. To me, it's all just, it sounds like garbage, and it sounds like a very dangerous and authoritarian view of the future. And we as programmers, I've noticed, not so much in Europe, I've definitely noticed on the West Coast, a lot of, I don't know, how do you say it? You can see it in everything from Mark Zuckerberg pretending to be an MMA fighter to, Trump himself, that there's this real desire to kind of fight back and pretend that war and surveillance are good things, that this is somehow, it's kind of woke or liberal to oppose them. But I would also argue that no one in any of these countries, they all live comfortable, sheltered lives in guarded suburbs for the most part in California. And this is ridiculous. Ask anyone who's lived through an authoritarian regime. I guess, Vlad, you're in, I guess, Romania. So, obviously, Romania had a communist surveillance regime that was very dangerous, that I would assume killed dissidents. Imagine if they had access to AI, drones, and mass surveillance. The same, look at what's happening currently today in Russia and China, and also the sort of out of control behavior of ICE in the United States, the killing of children and targeting of civilians in places like Gaza and Iran. I mean, obviously, a lot of these regimes, like the mullahs in Iran, are terrible, but I don't think that in any way justifies automated murder. So I do think it's like our responsibility as programmers and technology people that are interested in technology to put forward another vision of technology that's not based on ethno-nationalism and authoritarianism. And I think that's what's been on my mind. I wrote a late night rant last night, trying to clean it up a little bit today, but effectively, the internet does not belong to a single country. The programmers, it's true, we can't rely on, I mean, this is where Alex Karp is right. We can't rely on laws to save us. In fact, if anything, laws are being weaponized against us, as we can see from the case of Roman Storm. But we should continue creating tools to defend ourselves. Anti-surveillance technology, privacy enhancing technology, like what I work on Nym, which is a sort of anonymous networking stack, what DarkFi is for markets, what Roman Storm is working on. These technologies are the only thing that are going to resist this kind of coming wave of authoritarianism and mass surveillance. And I think we really need to put forward a more positive vision of the future, where technology can be used, as Hal Finney said, can be used to help people and not to enslave them. And I think, the original internet and web had a lot of that vision in it, but it was very naive in terms of surveillance. And now we have to kind of build a new sort of internet with new privacy enhanced cryptocurrency, which can really free people and let them decentralize power to individuals and voluntary associations. And this is essentially the old anarchist vision, but for a technological age, and help people survive. Because otherwise, I do think we're faced with an era of war, and civilians need to be able to fight back and survive. So that's what I've been thinking about. Sorry about that rant.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a sum of topics that right now are interconnected. Previously, before Palantir and before we had this AI for basically processing large volumes of data, maybe a lot of this seemed disconnected, but now you can get access to a lot of disparate sources, and then you connect the dots with AI, and it becomes much easier to surveil than it was before. Like, I think the threat models should be adjusted accordingly when you want to use privacy tools, or I guess for a long time, for example, in the case of VPNs, which is something that you work on with Nym, it was reasonable to give your data to one corporation and assume that the other one will never get access to it. But now I think with aggregation and with all of these leaks that happen basically every month now, with someone hacking into KYC databases or whatever, it's becoming easier than ever to link between accounts and between data. And I'm not sure if there is like a one-size-fits-all solution to this, but it's something that you need to consider, that previously it was fine to give your data in one part and assume that the other part will not get it. But now that's not guaranteed anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Karp, he says, well, it's ridiculous that, programmers are making these apps, and things like the iPhone or free email from Gmail are viewed as like the summit of our civilization. Instead, we should be building, I think, as Karp puts it, rifles for our Marines. And the modern day equivalent of rifles, he believes, are these mass surveillance systems. But I would disagree. It is true that what Palantir quite conveniently leaves out is that for many years, the mass surveillance capabilities of private actors like Google and Apple were mostly aimed at ads and advertising, and these cookies that follow you around the web and the geolocation on your phone. That was supposed to help you find friends and so forth. These were all considered quite innocent. But what you've seen is this mass data collection. It's not being used to help people. It's not being used for economic improvements. It ultimately seems of very low value, except for governments and private corporations that want to, to be frank, get rid of immigrants, target and kill dissidents, and quash any form of emerging resistance to the system. So all this data collection that inherently comes with free email, that inherently comes with your iPhone or your Android phone, this spyware that you put in your pocket every day. People think it's no longer just about advertising. The threat models are becoming much more dangerous and much more life-threatening, and they really do involve kind of these global nation-state level adversaries that are trying to use the internet and your devices. And to be honest, this is a Bitcoin podcast, your Bitcoin transactions stored forever on the blockchain to go after you. And then Lynn Sassaman, actually, in his critique of Bitcoin, this is one reason I'm not so sure Lynn would be, I knew Lynn. Lynn would be considered Satoshi Nakamoto. Lynn said, I was reading the quote the other day. Lynn said, Lynn studied mixed nets and mass surveillance. He said it's clear that whoever invented Bitcoin doesn't understand the power of traffic analysis, using internet patterns to find you and to eliminate you. De-anonymize you is just the first step. The next step is what they're going to do with you, how they're going to predict you, control you, and eventually eliminate you if your behavior is far out of line. And to be honest, the blockchain technologies without privacy make this worse.
Yeah, I was gonna crack a joke that we don't care about that anymore because now we're institutionalized and we just trade paper instead of using transactions on a blockchain, but it's really not funny. It's actually depressing.
Yeah. No, it's super depressing. But I do think, and I did a response to Alex Karp called the Anti-Palantir Manifesto, where I do point out, we as technologists, we can use cryptocurrency to liberate people. We can decentralize power away from the state. There's this kind of trope that Palantir uses, that everyone that's against essentially AI automated mass murder is some kind of whiny liberal who is afraid of war, who doesn't know how to fight, and is not realistic. But I would say if you look at human history, the most realistically we've seen, this kind of contrary power is always abused, and civilians and political dissidents do end up the target. And this is just unacceptable. But we're not going to solve it with whining. We're not going to solve it with complaining. Yeah, we're going to have to build.
I haven't actually read the manifesto, and you guys are talking about the manifesto. I'm sure a lot of people in the audience haven't read the manifesto, so maybe we can just talk about it quickly, what it is.
I gave a little brief overview earlier, but effectively, it's a kind of summary of Alex Karp's book called A Technological Republic, where he calls for the combination of a centralized state and Silicon Valley companies, where he's saying, I'm upset that Silicon Valley companies aren't cooperating more with the state. I actually, I was at MIT when many years ago, about a decade ago, actually, at this point, when I think it was maybe an ISIS adherent murdered a bunch of people in California, and they couldn't open their iPhone. And I remember the FBI came to MIT. They said, can you help us break open this iPhone? We'll give you a big reward, you fancy MIT professors. And there was a point in human history where Silicon Valley was not fully cooperating with the U.S. government. And then it's just, Google even was upset at the Snowden revelation, so they were kind of undermining the privacy of their users. But what Alex is arguing is that this is a wrong turn. That the future, and this is what his company Palantir does, the future is that we in Silicon Valley should work with the U.S. government, should build them more powerful mass surveillance tools. And these are great. It's a great business model, right? Because you just basically build databases of government employees. The government employees are obviously not very good at computers, so it's fairly easy work. And these government contracts, they have like a 90% renewal rate. So if you look at a consumer product, people tend not to pay very much. Governments, once you're in there, it's a big corrupt monopoly. And you can keep being paid again and again and again for producing software. What effectively is probably database joins is what Palantir is doing. And this really kind of brings to mind, Peter Thiel's belief in his book 0 to 1, where Peter Thiel is like, hey, why I'm against competition. I just want monopolies. Monopolies is how you make real money. But I think what Peter Thiel forgets is monopolies historically produce political corruption and economic stagnation, right? Too much centralization of power in too small a group just leads to grift. I mean, you can look at our current U.S. government administration, for example. And then, so that's the technological republic. It's kind of a call to arms that programmers should feel that's morally right to help the U.S. government because of their superior values form a kind of techno-fascism. I think this is the real point he's trying to make. And I'm saying we have to make a counterpoint where we argue against techno-fascism and we argue for technology as a liberating force. We have to make a choice between creating tools for enslavement or creating spaces of freedom. We don't have any other choice, really.
Yeah, but let me ask you something else, because it seems like whenever this argument comes along and someone, like any company that builds anything in America comes up with it, they sort of get away with a lot. And they will say, well, in China, they don't have any of these regulations and they don't have these concerns. And they're far more advanced than we are. And if we don't compete at the same level with the same lack of ethics or whatever, then we're not gonna be able to remain the dominant superpower of the world. And they're gonna be number one in AI, they're gonna be number one in crypto, they're gonna be number one in whatever industry. And it seems to work. Like, American politicians are very much compelled by this idea that, well, they do want to retain the supremacy of the US government and the power of America in the world. And if the argument is geopolitical and they do have to compete with China and China doesn't care too much about human rights, then the standard also becomes lower for products and services that get built in America.
But I would argue that this is the reverse. American technological domination comes from a heritage, there's wonderful books on it, from a heritage of libertarianism, anarchism, of creating systems which essentially are parallel systems that push beyond government control. So if you look at authoritarian countries, there's a reason, there's actually great history books on this. There's a reason Russia never developed the internet. It's a centralized control society. There were people pushing for a Russian version of the internet, but essentially it was canceled. And then you have the same situation going on, and I think China didn't develop its own internet, right? So what you've seen is that you're seeing, and I mean, Bitcoin's another example. Who created working digital money that really took off as an investment class? Was it the PayPal mafia or was it Satoshi Nakamoto, right? That innovation is what really drives technology. Innovation is creating something which is new. And in order to create something which is new, you need to have fundamental freedoms. The freedom of speech, freedom to self-organize. If you're and the people that rise to the top of these centralized control mechanisms, be it Trump in the United States or whoever, the Ayatollah in Iran or so forth and so on, typically are not the best and brightest. I mean, you can sort of see, right? The bureaucrats in the European Union are often, not anyone particularly special. You get these kind of masterful bureaucrats rising atop, not people with a real vision for the future. It's people with a real vision for the future that take advantage of technology and innovation. And so the danger, I think, what people don't see is they say, okay, well, cool, Russia's gonna, they don't care about our human rights. They're gonna build AI killing machines, what we do, and then they're gonna release us on them. Same with, I don't know, Russia. But look, basically, if you look at all the open source activity and the decentralized activity in Ukraine, that's been very successful in helping stop the Russian invasion, halt in its tracks. If you look at if you look at almost any country, really, it is a level of decentralization which I think enables intelligence, enables new technologies which are more powerful than anything any authoritarian regime can create. So you don't beat your enemy by becoming like your enemy. You beat your enemy, and you can't beat your enemy simply by murdering people. That never works. Look at Gaza and Iran; it just makes them stronger, right? The Iranian people rally to their regime rather than be terrified and surrender to God Emperor Trump due to these mass bombings from above by the U.S. and Israel. You can only really beat an enemy by being better than the enemy, by having a better vision of the world. You can only convince people to join you through a better vision of economic prosperity, through a better vision of empowerment. You don't beat people by just acting like a common murderer. And this is a juvenile fantasy, I think, of someone who's never actually been in war. I mean, Amir can talk about the situation in Syria, but from what I've seen, ISIS was defeated. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, U.S. airstrikes definitely helped, but also there was the fact that the people didn't want them to be in power. The people who were fighting them were willing to die for a better vision of the world and produce kind of better vision of society in Syria. That's what led ISIS to go down. Likewise, if you look at the Soviet Union, it had a huge military, but at some point the people were just sick of this corrupt group of politicians running everything in a mafia-like fashion. And then all the military in the world can't help you when you're in that situation. And I think we may be entering that sort of situation in the United States fairly soon.
If we're not there already.
It's looking grim, I would say. I would be interested in hearing, I think I probably ranted enough about Palantir, but if you have any further comments, I'm happy to hear them. I would be very interested in hearing what's going on with the Roman Storm case as well.
Yeah, so there's, I think this is like one of those cases that come around, it maybe once or twice in a lifetime, and this is kind of a nail in the coffin of innovation. So for those that don't know, Roman Storm created Tornado Cash, a crypto mixer, enabling privacy using ZK knowledge proofs to ensure the privacy. And the government now is attempting to redefine what privacy means by separating anonymity from privacy, and essentially just pushing a user registry for anything that's developed in the background. In New York, I'm in New York, and you could see that they're pushing for, and I think they passed it, but ID on the operating system level, and there's just so many different legal battles to fight at once. It's like overwhelming the amount of people that are it's hard to stay plugged into all of this at once. There's so many different ways this is coming from. But I think the most important thing is that the Southern District of New York is attempting to redefine what privacy is. And what it means by separating, again, the anonymity from privacy, and then of course mixing up secrecy and privacy and trying to make it seem like only criminals are looking for privacy. The DA, not the DA, the prosecutor actually went so far. I was in the Rule 29 hearing. He went so far as to say that legitimate users' funds were actually illegitimate because they strengthened the pools, the amount of money that was in the pools, making it more private. So he says even they broke the law. So they're really reaching now to stifle anybody trying to go near the gray area, push the limits of innovation. Really, who wants to build if you're going to get hauled in there with 40 years hanging over your head? There's only like a handful of people that are willing to do that. I'm sure 4 people are, right here. But how many people are really willing to say, fuck it, I'll do it? Well, let me see where your principles are at to the government. It's very frustrating because the developer community has been more or less silent. You see the same people. I'm not saying there's not voices, but on a large level, you think that as an industry, and even vibe coders, people are going to be put inside a box. You're allowed to build this. And it's kind of like Chicken Little. People think that you're saying, no, the sky is falling. How credible could you be? But this is really like, it seems like the case to me, because Roman didn't go out of his way to stick it to the feds. Some people, even me, sometimes I'll say things and it's almost like a dare. Like I could probably choose my words better. I'm a little blunt. These guys built this and then that was the end of it. Like they weren't going out of their way not to comply with the rules. That, as we all know, there were no rules. This was like the Wild West when he built this. There was no regulations. And I'd even argue that KYC is probably the most criminal thing that the government's really pushed on us in a while. But, that's a whole nother situation. So we're waiting to see what's happening with the Rule 29 hearing. The judge, the magistrate was thoughtful. She seemed like a more or less fair judge. She wasn't one-sided. She definitely was questioning the where the prosecutors were coming from with their theories. But again, the court's kind of a coin flip, and it's hard to trust the U.S. government, seeing like what they do, because even a pardon, because now Samourai Wallet developers, the community is really pushing for a pardon, and like you kind of have to go through the fire to get the pardon when it's not even called for in the first place. So I'm really hoping that this Roman Storm case kind of blows up a little bit more and gets a little bit more of the attention that it needs. In March, I'll be going down to the other Roman from Bitcoin Fog. He's having there's oral arguments. He's been in prison for 5 years, just to see what's going on with that, because the government, that was more shenanigans they pulled to get him in there in the first place. So it seems like an unfair game. I'm constantly pushing for developers who have some principles to help build parallel systems. There's not going to be, you have the VPN. There's not going to be one VPN that people will use. Okay, maybe use a different one, but we need a robust parallel system that mirrors everything that we have now in order to kind of resist the technocratic feudalism that's coming down, whether we like it or not. It seems like they're making their move. They got their guy in there. Many nations are working together, in my opinion. We talk about the war, and it's definitely not the United States versus Iran. It would be governments versus their own people. I have my own opinion that these guys are just playing a game of chess with each other, but they're really kind of friendly. And the only people who end up getting hurt by this is Iranian citizens. So I feel like the war isn't against, Israel and America versus Iran. It's the governments versus the people, working in organization, in my opinion, in order to bring about this technocratic feudal state that is really kind of grown on a global scale rather quickly, in my opinion. But when you look at it, they've been laying the foundations for this for years. That's all a mouthful, but yeah.
I mean, we're all gonna have a mansion, and we're all gonna have a chef and a personal valet, right? That's what Elon Musk is telling us. Like,
Oh,
we're not gonna have to work. We're gonna live in mansions. I think this is so silly.
well, I kind of want difficulty. You know, I feel bad for the programmers that didn't learn before ChatGPT. You know, sitting there and banging your head against the wall, you missed a comma, your whole thing's broke, and you have to go there and literally, you know, there was no AI assistant to help you, and that really helped brain function and the reward system, and it was very rewarding just to get text on the screen, let alone, you know, what we can do now in a matter of maybe 2 minutes. So I do feel bad for the younger generation. You know, I go out of my way to try to make educational content and tools. So just to start plugging the younger people in, because they don't even know what privacy is. Think about 9/11 and the world before that. So that was like a drastic change. I'm 43. So I was first year of college when 9/11 happened, and in New York. This is a different world. And now it's a different world after COVID. So there's like a whole like generation and a half. I don't know how generations are really broke up, but there's a large sect of the population that has no idea what privacy really means, because it's kind of like a you know, like that's the psychological operation. It's like, they kind of know anyway, fuck it, like, you know, well, but you know, like, forget it, like, it doesn't matter, they're going to get this information anyway, and they've given up. So it's really important, obviously everybody here knows that, to kind of fly the flag of your own like personal rights and sovereignty, and really drill that home with people, because that's half the battle, is educating them. Because bringing this information to somebody that doesn't have the whole backstory, it's kind of like, well, yeah, but you know, like, they were funneling money through this guy's application, so it would just be easier to throw him in jail, and then that's the end of that. Yeah, well, you know, until that means, you know, like 5 years down the line, what does the world look like if they're able to pass that precedent? And what does your day-to-day life look like based on that precedent? I don't think people are really looking that far down the road, or might not even care, you know. So it's a little bit of an uphill battle.
The irony
I
of
would
this
like to say,
situation, sorry for interrupting, Harry.
mm,
If you are someone who scammed people and made a lot of money and you can pay for your pardon in the Trump administration, you're fine.
Yes.
But if you build something that empowers people to escape the state, then you're a criminal, and you're gonna get dragged into court and humiliated, and you're gonna have to go through this whole process. We used to think that these people are sort of martyrs of the Biden administration because they had Operation Choke Point 2.0, and they seemed to be openly against crypto for a while. So we were hoping that once Trump gets elected and he said he was gonna free Ross Ulbricht, he did do that. And then we were thinking, okay, his family is personally invested, has their own DeFi project, you know, maybe that this guy gets it and he's gonna let these people go, but he really did not. Like, even Roger Ver, right? I don't think there's anyone who's more resourceful in the space than he is. He has a lot of money, he has a lot of connections, he can afford to get the best lawyers, yet he still did not get a great deal, and he was still in exile for like 2 years on an island in Spain. So we're sort of screwed. And I don't think politics is gonna save us. I don't think voting for someone else is really gonna make any difference.
yeah, I just want to say that, I mean, it is when someone like Alex Karp or the Trump say, oh, well, you know, we support cryptocurrency. Do they really support cryptocurrency in the vision of, I don't know, the cypherpunks or Nakamoto, or just something for human freedom? No, it's obvious they don't. You know, they support cryptocurrency as part of a system. There's improved banking databases, basically.
Yes.
And someone like Alex Karp says, oh, well, these people that resist, people that want privacy, they must be criminals. I mean, it's insane. No one should have all their financial transactions in public or accessible by random governments. I mean, that's very dangerous. That can be easily used against someone. And I think there's these kind of fundamental, like when I don't know, like when I'm also now in my 40s. When I was growing up, you could go for, you didn't have to have a credit card. People would take cash. Right? I used a lot of cash. I didn't have a phone, I don't know, for so long, and we survived. And we did have things like social media. We didn't have mobile phones, but we had early forms of communication, email. And actually, I actually feel very, very terrible for young people today who are brought up with no feeling of privacy and a permanent record that can be used to prosecute them in the future at any time. It can be used to blackmail them. And you can see from the Roman Storm prosecution how utterly unfair state prosecutions can be. Like, why are they prosecuting Roman Storm and not prosecuting all these other scammers, right? Roman Storm's a legit guy. He's not a scammer. He built a service that people use to defend their privacy. And you have people who, I'm not going to mention any names, but you can if you want, people that literally, I mean, the president himself literally been using cryptocurrency for like meme pump and dumps and corrupt prediction market bettings. And they don't get, and so it shows you the state is not there to defend you. The state is not there to help democracy. The state does not represent its citizens. The state is an apparatus of power and control meant to support the domination of its ruling class against ordinary people. So we have to build those tools like Roman to defend ordinary people. We have to make sure people like Roman don't go to jail. And, it's been frustrating. I've been to these human rights conferences. And I've said, hey, why don't you support financial piracy? Like, oh, I don't know. We don't really know. We're not going to support financial piracy. We're just going to support, freedom of expression. But to me, it's the same thing. When you buy something or purchase something, it's part of your expression of who you are, of how you're living. It's just as important as being able to post some weird screed on Twitter, right? So, I have to, I mean, I know I've tried to be support Roman. I've seen the Ethereum Foundation be support Roman. I'm shocked there's not more media attention on the Storm case and the wider case against Alexei and everyone else in the Tornado Cash case. And I'm really glad you're doing this work, Christopher. It's important to do this work so we don't end up in a panopticon and everyone's just normalize it and there's no tools to help us to get out. That to me would be absolutely the worst of all possible. So thanks so much for your work.
I really appreciate that. It's frustrating, like people, I grew up in New York my entire life. And New York has a reputation, and after COVID, something happened here, and it wasn't one or two people. It was just a culture shift where maybe it was people were defeated or just kind of living high off the hog, and it was like, things aren't, the bums here have smartphones, so maybe it's decadence, it's the drowning in the decadence. I really don't know, but whatever reputation New York had in my mind is kind of like a thing of the past, where they're just very compliant. No one really argues. They almost argue for the state, for like, oh, you're not allowed to do that, like a legal thing. They'll argue that you're not allowed to do something that's legal, and there's like, complete and utter madness on the subway, and you just you just walk right by that. When the prosecutors were talking about the technology, about blockchain and ZK proofs, they have to purposely not be understanding, because they're blurring the lines with what is capable with blockchain, what's not capable, whether or not UI, the user interface is part of the protocol. And while it's legal to start to build the protocol that Roman built, once criminals are using it, you're supposed to shut down shop, walk away from it, and say, well, you know, like people are using this, they're misusing this, so I don't want to make any more money. And that's why, like, you see how I am, like you can kind of get a feel for how I am. I'm like almost talking, like jumping out of my seat in court. I don't know Roman from Adam before all this. We're getting, you know, like we have exchanges here and there sometimes on Twitter, but I'm taking it personally because that's anybody. If you built this, they're coming for you. They're going to misunderstand on purpose. They're going to make you out to be like a demon. And purposely, these are not stupid people. Prosecutor's not an idiot. I mean, he can't be an idiot. And he's purposely confusing the lines to get a conviction. And it's, you know, obviously, you know, none of us are so naive to think that any of this is about justice. You know, like Roger having to pay whatever the ridiculous amount of money it was as a fine for whatever it is that they say Roger did that was wrong. This is not about justice. This is about punishing those who won't kneel, who won't give the back door, you know, give the government the back door to enter into any of the data they want to. What about intellectual privacy? AI is completely destroyed any idea of, well, that's yours, and, you know, like copyright law, that's all. Like, what happened to any of that? How are you gobbling up all that? And I don't mean to jump across industries and from different topics, but they all kind of they all rhyme. Like the type of fucked up things that are happening rhyme. And it's just, we're doing whatever we want as the government and the public-private partnership. And the few of you that resist, we're crushing. And that's fine, I suppose. It's a good opportunity for all of us. You know, I was listening to Amir speak the other day on when, I guess it was for the Logos, one of the Logos conference or something, one of the privacy things. And I was listening, and, you know, I was really identifying what you were talking about, because it's exactly, you're not the only one who feels that way. But there really is like a core group of people, I guess, that have this type of mindset. And it's really important that we get together and kind of spread this thought process out and build these systems to cooperate with each other, because what they're doing is not going to stop, obviously. And the only resistance there really is to build and to educate people, you know. So yeah, it's just you talk about it, and it gets frustrating. It becomes hard to articulate myself in a way other than kind of cursing and getting like real lowbrow. I don't like to do that often. Sometimes there's no other way to call it. This is a pay-to-play system. You know, if Roman would have had some Trump token and was willing to take a 90% loss on the token, he would have been all right, you know. And that's a shame, because I really thought that when we grew up, we'd be grown-ups, and it seems like it's just like even worse than when there's a bully in the school.
I'm unfortunately going to have to run here now that Amir's finished
Harry,
dinner.
before you go, I have to give you some Zcash from Cake Wallet.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'd like to, but I do want to say something, which is like, yeah, like I think that's what you're doing is really amazing, and we should support Roman whatever way we can. And, you know, cursing is the right thing to do. You know, it's a shameful situation. It's utterly shameful what they're doing to him. The people that are doing this are scum and should be called out as such. And I think it's a very honorable work to defend and support people when they're honestly facing their darkest hours. I've been in some dark situations. People supported me, and we got to support people like Roman, because if you don't, it's going to be you next. So, yeah. So for Zcash, what you're going to send me some Zec to my Cake Wallet? Do you want me to give you a address? How do we do this here?
Yeah, usually you can just show the screen. Right now I'm using Nym. You can see here I'm using the VPN.
Oh, cool.
And I'm waiting for it to connect to the best servers, and it's kind of slow.
That may sometimes take a bit because it's trying to figure out which ones are the best. We will have this optimized pretty shortly. Give me 1 second while
Okay, it's
I just
connected.
open my Cake wallet. I usually use Cake wallet. Usually, I tend to use Cake wallet for. Okay, so I tend to use it for Monero actually, but I tend to use Zottle for
Whoops.
Zcash, but I do now have Zcash on my phone, and you can see it. There it is, exactly 0. But I would love to get some. So tell me, what should I do?
Yeah, so the rule is that I give 1 Zec to every person who joins the show. But right now, basically, I have 3 of you at the same
drive you
time.
into poverty, right?
Yeah, so I have to split that. You're gonna get 0.30 free, which I think today is like more than $100.
Okay, so I send this. I send my address to you. I can send it over Signal or.
Okay, that works. You could
Is that
also
okay?
show the QR, and I could just try to scan
Oh,
it
you want
with
me to
the
show?
screen.
I can also show. Yeah, I'm not sure. Should I show the QR to the screen? I guess I could.
It's not
You
public.
want to try to? You want to try to scan it on the screen? I guess. Yeah, go for it. There it is. There it is. Go for it. Can you scan that?
Move it a little to the right,
Yeah,
It's a fresh wallet, so it should be okay.
trying.
the other right.
Yeah, you have to move it a bit. Yeah,
Hey, you got
that's
it.
good. It doesn't focus. No, it doesn't work.
Okay. Well, I will just signal it to
Yeah,
you.
just send me a text.
And
Yeah.
no, and I really do. Of the wallets I use, I use Cake Wallet for Monero in particular, and I use it quite a lot. And it's been an absolutely it's been an absolute excellent wallet. We also we should at some point integrate Nym against them, so they have similar to Edge Wallet that should have better network privacy just built in, so you don't have to start and stop Nym VPN. So yeah, so I've sent it over. Should I hang out till it arrives? I'm not.
No, it's fine. You can
Okay,
go.
well,
You can trust me that I will
it's-
send it.
Yeah, for myself, I would say that I remember once. I don't know if you remember this, Amir. You can tell the whole story. We were trying to send Zcash to someone overseas, and we had to send it using a JSON, handcrafted JSON file. So technology does make progress over time. We now have full wallets with shielded Zcash support. So I gotta go. Take care, everyone.
Harry, before you go, pick a number from 1 to 100.
98.
98. Okay, thank you very much.
Cool. Take care.
So everyone in the chat, you're gonna have to basically guess a number from 1 to 100, which is gonna be the average of the numbers that everyone chooses. And Harry chose 98, so do your math, calculate the odds that you're gonna have the closest number, and mention it in the chat. So Harry chose 98. There's gonna be one from Christopher and one from Amir, but don't give them away yet. Just give people time to join the contest. Let it be spicy. Amir, you've been quite silent so far. Oh, he left.
I think it froze. I think his phone froze.
It's fine. So something that I wanted to mention about this, Christopher, is that I do believe that the day when the Samourai Wallet developers were arrested is also the day that Bitcoin died. Because the immediate response was that everyone who was working on privacy shut down. They were so scared, they did not want to become martyrs in the name of anything.
Yeah.
Wasabi Wallet, which was the competitor of Samourai, it just vanished. The company dissolved, and then you had all of these other privacy services. I remember there was something called Mercury Wallet, which is something that was doing a state chain coin swap, meaning that you could change UTXOs with someone else without leaving an on-chain footprint. That one, I haven't heard about it in a long time. And I think also a lot of these privacy products in Bitcoin, they became unfashionable. The only one that sort of got accepted is the eCash thing, which is privacy for custodial funds on Lightning. But I think the only reason why that one was accepted is that it can be stolen, can be seized by the custodian. So privacy is only as good as the mercy of the person who's holding your funds.
Yeah, which is really no different than a bank. You know, like at the end, not to shortchange what they built over there, but you know, I think you're right. And these arrests are having the implications they want. You know, in the entirety of Web3. Oh, here's Amir. Let me shut my mouth for a second here. You made it back.
No, continue. Sorry. Don't shut your mouth. No.
No, believe me, I want to hear from you more than you want to hear what I got to say.
I just had a question because Harry was saying, but Harry left. So I was like, he said that Palantir wants to get rid of privacy. Is that what they said themselves, or did they say the tech and the military state complex, etc., should be like working more closely together? So what was he? I guess I need to read the manifesto. Let me pull it up here.
Yeah.
I'll sketch it. You guys can.
Palantir. I didn't read it either. I know that people choose their words wisely, but that Karp does run at the mouth a little bit, so he might accidentally.
Okay, I thought this podcast was about that. What's this podcast about?
Well, we're talking privacy stuff, like in general, but Harry decided to focus on his latest obsession with Palantir, which makes a lot of sense.
I see.
And yeah, he is the one who told me he only has like 35 to 40 minutes before he has to go, so I let him talk first.
Okay, makes sense.
We don't have to necessarily follow this line, but if you want, I don't mind it.
No. I was just curious. I was curious why he was saying that. I mean, I think the question is quite simple. It's like, if that guy's got a gun, I want a gun. Pretty simple. And, you know, the government, giving the government that much power, do you really trust this government in particular as a moral government? I mean, literally, it's being confirmed. They're literally pedophiles in the government. There's like child sex rings. They're making wars, you know, whether you care about the wars or not. Are US citizens actually benefiting from the war itself? You know, the US is like literally a giant island in the middle of an ocean. It could just be chilling, it could be doing its own thing, it could be printing money, it could be successful. But instead, Americans are funding a military industrial complex, a surveillance apparatus, all of that stuff. Who actually benefits from this? This is a question. Who benefits from going literally to the other side of the globe? It is literally the other side of the globe, and going into the Middle East and fighting some random Middle Eastern country. Do US citizens actually benefit from that, or who exactly benefits from all this? So why do those people in power need more powers? Is that something that, you know, is going to help US citizens? So I think the argument's quite direct. You know, obviously the system is very corrupt. People were hoping for something different. It hasn't happened. You know, we have to rely on our own strength. We have to make a revolution. You know, we have to use technology. We've got this technology, cypherpunk tech. So, you know, let's leverage it. You know, it's the most powerful thing that we've got. I think the sell is quite direct.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. You know, that's basically my line to anybody that'll listen to me at this point. You know, and almost the questions don't even need to be answered. I think they kind of answer themselves, like who's benefiting, you know, just the powerful. You know, the same thing in America, there's two political parties. That's the appearance. There's one political class, you know, and they split up the power however they split it up, and they just fight amongst each other. And I think it's the same thing with the nations. There's a global ruling class, and they just kind of go back and forth at who's going to be the most powerful, and they keep the people arguing amongst each other within the nation and within the globe. You know, I'm an American, so I don't like the Iranians. You know, that's not true, but that's what they would lead you to believe. And you're right. We have to start working together. And it's not even about it's not about the product market fit or all this other silly horse shit that they have developers really worrying about. It's, can you make a messaging system that can't be stopped? Okay, that's great, good. Can you make money that they can't confiscate away from a store, a value where they can't stop it? Okay, that's great. Can you make social media that can't be stopped? Where we can continue doing the same thing that happens on X for the most part, that just can't be utilized to hurt the people who are on it. And when we get enough people, when there's a critical mass of developers who will do that, then, you know, we have something. I think things are kind of moving that way, to be honest with you. I really do, because I think there's enough people getting disgusted. Because what do we need, like 5%? We need 5% of the people to agree, something like that. But, you know, like when you're thinking about the math of it, 5% of the developers, a lot of them sold out. They'll just build whatever stupid shit that they're paid to build. They don't care. We don't want them anyway.
Also, working for the government, it just sounds boring. Like, you guys imagine you can like wear cool cypherpunk merch like that.
There you go.
You look like a warrior. Let's fight and get power. Don't be a slave. You know, you're like a work slave. You all know the terminology that we use on the internet these days. You can be your own sovereign man. You can roam across the internet as like in a dark forest, and you can do business, and nobody can tell you what to do. You can be truly free. What is better in this world than to roam around as a wild beast of nature, where you rely on your instinct of like attack and defense? You know, isn't that what the internet was used to be about? It used to be so fun. Does anybody remember like the old days of YouTube? People were just posting videos on the internet, having a good time. Now everything's become so like algorithmic. It's literally like economic. And it's literally just like sucked all the joy out of it. So I think we can create something much better, more fun, and you know, we can be free. And you know, like what Harry said, like, oh, you know, they're selling us this thing. Everybody will be a movie star and have a mansion and, you know, have their own robot made. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think that's just what they're selling us because they want to enslave us. But we can build that ourselves. But you have to become an entrepreneur. You have to gain the tools of power that they're trying to keep you from. They're deliberately trying to keep you down. And they psyop you as well. They psyop you away from doing that. There's a whole world out there that is waiting to be explored. And crypto people, we used to be going towards that. It used to be a brave world. Everybody's become so afraid. I don't know what they're even afraid of. I mean, I guess, yes, like Roman storms, being put in jail, etc. But, you know, I don't think, it seems like they're not doing so well right now. That's why they're creating all these wars to distract from these like crises they have. So, you know, we can create our own technological paradigm. It's literally just waiting there to be done. I'm surprised nobody's done it yet. But anyway, it's cool. Like, at least we will be the first project to do that. And, you know, they're actually like, I mean, it is true, actually. I do understand like what people are saying, but we literally have what we suspect are agents in our chat that are spreading disinformation. They literally like do stuff like they fork the code and they like make these changes to the code in different repos, and they keep like passing it off as though they're like DarkFi developers, and people actually think it's like legit code, and they like talk about like issues that they've just made up that are not real. So we actually have that like attack that's like ongoing, you know, this kind of like information war attack. Also, like I keep getting arrested and harassed at airports, and you know, like I mean, I'm not going to say more, but I have to like, you know, I have like meetings with police and stuff as well that I have to do. It's like just weird, like this is like extra legal regime that just exists, and you know, how do you even challenge that? It's like not. It's not like they're like trying you in a court of law. They're just causing you hassle, and you know you have to kind of deal with them. And they send agents into ecosystems. So it's like that's literally how this thing operates.
Yeah, Amir, it's really unfortunate how you get treated. I was gonna ask you, how is the progress with DarkFi?
Sorry, I'm using the phone, so I have this like really itsy bitsy tiny button that I have to press to unmute because I'm using it in the browser because I don't have the app. DarkFi is good. Like, you know, we're making the wallet, the app. You know, a version of the wallet should be out this month. The second major thing is the bridge. For a long time, the bridge, how it would be done was an open question, but now the bridge is like, we've kind of decided on a roadmap to do that, and it just needs to be implemented. Testnet is going to be released soon. After testnet, I guess, is mainnet. Yeah, just those are the kind of final questions. The other main thing, the big thing, actually will be the marketing. And so once this version of the app is done, then I'm going to pivot to that and start to get more momentum going on the whole kind of raising the profile of DarkFi, essentially.
Yeah, I just want to tell a story with you, Amir, if that's fine, with what happened to you in Argentina in November.
Oh, yeah, that's one of them, yeah.
You're the real deal. You're like a legend. I was there attending DevConnect, and there was this Privacy Now dinner or whatever, and everyone was expecting you to come, and then someone said, well, Amir got detained at the airport and he had to fly back. I don't know exactly where. And there were stories from people saying, wow, this guy's a legend. Maybe that he'll be able to get a car and cross the border through this country and he's going to be able to attend tomorrow. And then someone else said, well, but what if he gets on stage to do his speech and he gets arrested during the speech? And someone else said, well, that's going to make him even more of a legend.
Yeah, they deported me from Argentina to Brazil, and they wouldn't tell me why. So, you know, that's that. But it's happening in a few countries. I got detained 8 hours in Serbia, 6 hours in Mexico, a few hours in Japan. You know, we don't know which country it's coming from or like why exactly it's happening. You know, could be anything. Could be a mix of things.
But do you believe that you're on some sort of lists when you fly and they just detain you? I also remember this when you attended Monerotopia. That was in November of 2023 or 4. I think 24. And you were late because they stopped you in Japan or something. And that was fresh after the HBO documentary came out.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if it's related, but Ray Youssef, he had literally a swarm of federales in Mexico City come and detain and deport him. So, I mean, if you look at the figures in crypto that are kind of being targeted, I mean, you mentioned Roger Ver, Ray Youssef, etc. There does seem to be a pattern of certain political profile or certain kinds of work that they're involved in. So, I mean, Roman Storm, privacy, Samourai, privacy. They're definitely interested in this stuff. So, you know, you know, maybe they're kind of going like, you know, stay away from that stuff. But, you know, is actually going to do the opposite, because we're going to go, okay, that's what we should do more of, because that's what they're afraid of. And, you know, doing that kind of stuff is not going to make people back down. It's going to make people want to fight, dig in. If you're stubborn, you want to like dig in and resist. You know, like, you motherfuckers, you're not going to tell me what to do. You're a fucking bitch. I'm going to tell you what to do. So, you know, they're not accustomed to that. They're like, that's why they, you know, they've gone to I mean, I don't know, everybody has a different view on this war with Iran. But I remember when it started, I talked to a friend of mine and he said, look, Amir, what the Americans don't realize is these guys are stubborn. They're like really stubborn. They're not going to give up. And kind of America went in and they were like, we're going to win this war in a few days. And then after a few days, they were like, we've already won the war. And every week they're saying, we've already won the war. And it's clearly clear they have not won the war. And when you talk to people about it, they're kind of like, yeah, they're doing some 5-dimensional chess. You know, actually but kind of like, do you announce you've won a war like way in advance before? No, you don't. That's a very clearly losing strategy. I know they tried to do this like uprising thing. They tried to engineer an uprising. It didn't work out. There wasn't that much people that were into it. It kind of flopped. Now they're saying the stats, different independent people are like, oh, you know, 2,500 people were executed, but you know, the US government is saying 50,000 people were executed, blah blah, casus belli. But that didn't work out. And then since then, what have they done? They kind of like, they don't seem to have a plan really. And now they're talking about putting boots on the ground. It seems like America kind of like lost all its strategic objectives. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just making shit up. But does it really, it's kind of like, I'm not sure it's going too well for them, to be honest. Doesn't seem like they're winning. And, you know, they kind of seem to be like flan. So anyway, like, I guess what they expected was that the first sign, or the first kind of like, when the US is like, you know, we're going in and we're gonna fucking defeat you, and then they think, oh, you know, Mr. Americans, don't do that, and expect them to surrender. And when they didn't, they kind of went. It's like unexpected for them. It's a surprise. So I think that's what they're accustomed to, is like pushing. That's like pushing people around and people being compliant and like giving into their demands. And so when you're not like that, I think suddenly their paper tiger collapses. The more people do that, the more it's kind of exposed how vulnerable they are. And that precisely because they're doing such an extravagant display of violence against particular actors, against particular individuals, targeting people, etc., is showing that actually they are very afraid of these things. That's why they overreact. If they weren't afraid, they would like calmly, assertively, in a relaxed way, deal with an issue. They wouldn't, you know, resort to all these means,
Right.
to kind of like pressure, to apply pressure. So, yeah, I think you know, we have cards in our hands. Just not sure people realize it. We've been dealt a good hand.
Real quick, I had a question. You were talking about, you know, kind of like agents being within the, messing around with your product, you know, like what you're building, the project. What do you got? What are you doing? like, what's the move when that's happening? Do you kind of like let it happen and just keep it like kind of isolate it in your mind, or keep an eye on what's going on with it? Or as a fellow, builder, because I'm trying, without giving, like making yourself, putting yourself in a situation where you're showing your hand, kind of,
I think the thing is these kind of tactics are meant to exhaust you by like creating like fires that you have to go out and you continually have to put out. And I think, and it's a mistake to just kind of ignore it and not do anything against it. I think you do have to, when people like attack you, or when people are doing a psyop against you, you do have to like go and address things before they get out of hand. But at the same time, I think these things are like designed in such a way to emotionally dysregulate you. So as soon as you become reactive, or you become emotional, or you become concerned with things, because remember, like, these people do have like psychological operations that they do. Like, they're like psychologists, they like analyze your mindset. There's all this stuff like, oh, schizo guy tried to assassinate a guy. Like, I don't know how much that stuff is engineered versus just a crazy guy, but it is certainly like something that is plausible, that they have the ability to manipulate crazy people as proxies. They have the ability to influence public opinion at scale. They have the ability to apply psychological pressure to people. So when you realize what their game is, it's important to realize, like, okay, you shouldn't become reactive to things. You shouldn't let things affect you psychologically. You have to deal with things in a calm, rational manner. You should not get sucked into their games. Their whole point is to suck you in emotionally, to make you expend energy, to become tired, exhausted. Remember, you're trying to ship a product. You're trying to deliver something. So that has to be the focus. This is like a side mission. This is not really key importance. So I think having this mindset is the key to dealing with government psyops.
Yeah, and once again, something that I think people forget perpetually, maybe every few decades, it's that violence does not really solve much. Like, you can do genocide if you go to that length, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna kill a religion. It doesn't mean that you're gonna kill an ideology. It doesn't mean that you're gonna kill a movement. It just means that you're gonna delay the growth of something, which is gonna hit you harder when it comes back. So I think the approach that the US used to have with cultural diplomacy, and the fact that they were trying to basically spread democracy with McDonald's and Hollywood and music and whatever, I think it was a much better and more subtle approach than just invading perpetually. But then again, I don't think there was a specific decade in their history in the 20th and the 21st century when they were not at war with anyone. It's just that now it's much more obvious and it's out there.
Yeah, I mean, also, like, things have changed a lot. Like, we're all like a lot more aware of how they're operating. When it's like, I mean, look at just like 2010 era. People were a lot more naive back then. I remember like talking with my dad when I was like a teenager, and he was like, he goes, "Oh yeah, the BBC is biased, blah blah." And I was like, "No, Dad, the BBC is an objective, neutral news source." And he went, he goes, "Oh, shut up! You don't know what you're talking about." And I was like, "No, you don't know what you're talking about." I know it's embarrassing to say that, but like, that was like the time back then. Even then, even though I was like, I'd call myself anarchist, I still thought there was some objective neutrality or something in in that stuff. I know it's embarrassing to say it. I'm just sort of like so young as well.
I was thinking about this recently also, Amir, that like 10 years ago, I was still believing in something universal and objective. Like there is just one source of truth, and maybe if we all got that truth, the world would be a better place or whatever. But it's really not like that. And I'm not the kind of person to say that, there's multiple truths and perspectives and every person should be listened to and whatever. So I'm not falling for that extreme. I'm just saying that the values of people are always different and you should take that into consideration.
I mean, look, there's different geopolitical realities, there's different geographies, geographies influence culture, culture influence ethnicity, there's also like possibly biological realities, different stuff. I mean, there definitely is physical local adaptations. People in Tibet, they have adaptations to live at really high altitude, and people in Africa, they have adaptations to cool themselves more efficiently. So, who's to say there is any universal social kind of political system? I imagine like, people in Siberia probably have like a very different way of living to people in Brazil, even if they have the same ostensible political system. So, yeah, I mean, humanity is like a big, diverse ecosystem, and I think that's something to be celebrated. And it's not something we want to like homogenize and remove all differences between people. We want to like eliminate, we want to eliminate all the culture and just have this like global consumerist, hyperliberal shopping mall, eternal Y2K.
Yeah, but coming back to the topic of privacy, when you do want to get privacy, you want to look like everyone else. You don't want to stand out in any way. That's sort of the concept of being able to hide in a crowd in a way that you're not distinguishable.
True, yeah.
So from a privacy point of view, maybe that there are some tenets or universal rules that everyone should follow in order to get it. It's not like just because you come from a different country and you have a different culture, you need a different kind of privacy. I think it's universal.
I mean, I think we're talking about separate things, but okay, like, I don't know if there is anything as, universal privacy or like, what is the correct way to do privacy. There is an arms race. The arms race is between certain actors who are developing countermeasures to diminish privacy. And then there's like another side who's, developing new measures, new privacy measures, new ways to preserve people's freedom. And then you've got to kind of go, and then also a part of that is, best practices. You're operating in this context. What is the best way to use this tool for your purposes? And look, everybody's going to have different purposes or goals. And the thing is that, we make a decision about exactly what we're trying to accomplish with this technology. Who are we trying to support? What world are we envisioning? And I know this sounds very abstract, but, I do want to see people on the internet building agorist parallel economic systems. I want to see people like trading, and I want to see communities organizing, and outside of the state system, and mobilizing for freedom, reclaiming their sovereignty. I think it's increasingly going to be so important. There is a class, like a big class of people, and they're literally, as I said, they're like pedos in the government. They're creating wars. They're not working to benefit people. They're literally, I don't know what they're trying to do. They're literally like, some of them are even like, extracting plasma from like young adults or like kids even, and injecting it into themselves to extend their life. I mean, sure, we could argue the medical benefit of that, but it literally is like a vampiric, parasitic type of activity. And, like, what are we going to do about that? What are you going to do about that? Huh? So I'm telling you, you're like, oh, I don't like cryptocurrency. Oh, I don't like anonymity. It's like, firstly, this is available to you. And if you're kind of going like, oh yeah, criminal. I mean, I'm not saying anybody listening to this podcast is saying that, but it is something I've heard. People are like, oh yeah, criminals, they will use that stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, it exists. Criminals are going to use it, but you can use it too. Why wouldn't you use it? Oh, you're not going to use it because literally a pedophile warmongering class literally said, this is what morality is. We define what is moral, what is good, what is bad, and we like impose that on you. And you, like a good slave, will go like, oh yes, like following the laws that they've made, the rules that they've created, that is what is moral, what is good. Yes, I'm going to abide by that. Sorry, you're just living life by their rules. You're not living life by your rules. I'm saying, look, there's this tool. Take it, use it. If that guy has a gun, I want a fucking gun. Why wouldn't I? You can tell me, oh, it's bad that I have a gun. It's like, okay, but he's got a gun. I don't care about anything else. I want one too. Literally, I want to defend myself. It doesn't, and if I don't have it, I know that I'm not going to shoot random people. So,
right.
I don't need you to tell me it's bad that I have a gun. But I know it's good that I have it. Same thing with any tool of power. I want the power. I want the tools of power. I'm going to take them. I'm going to use them. You're not? Fine. Don't do it. But this is the second point. It exists. Doesn't matter. You can't take it away. The technology exists. It's a thing. Well, you can influence its development, its forward direction. But if you're going to sit out, you're just going to allow it to go on without you, and sooner or later, you're going to be forced to come into the future. You will be dragged, kicking and screaming, whether you like it or not, into the future. Future is just happening, with or without you. So, these things exist. You should try to understand them. And fact is, crypto is our biggest hedge against surveillance AI, mega machine that Harry was talking about.
Yes.
You have to really think about the semiconductors, the production of semiconductors globally is like a giant pipeline that stretches all around the globe, and all of the world's nations are working together to maintain this thing. It's literally the peak of like human production and ingenuity. It's very crazy if you think about it. There is very little or no, there are like actually points in it that are not duplicated. I mean, so if that's lost, literally semiconductor production just stops. It's why, for example, Taiwan is so important. Like, who controls that? Controls semiconductors, or at least a key part of it. And the thing is, what makes AI successful? What makes AI successful is hardware, semiconductors. So those who control the semiconductors control the AI. So who controls the semiconductors? Superpowers. Who controls the AI? Superpowers. So I had a friend of mine, he actually told me, he said, look, you're using AI because it's convenient for your business, for whatever you're doing. But you are actually just putting all your trade secrets into that thing. And eventually, what they can do is they can just take it, they can put, 10,000, 100,000, a million times the compute that they're giving to you, and they can just rip off your idea and spin up a competitor.
Yes.
So these are things that can be like weaponized against us on an economic level. But not only that, we were talking about Palantir. It's really worth seeing if people go on YouTube and they search Palantir AIP. That is Palantir AIP. Let me see if I can show it to you there.
AIP?
Yeah, AIP. It's this video. I don't know if people can see that.
A little grainy.
It's like this one, like a grey video.
Got
it says
it.
Palantir AIP.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah, I got
Defense
it.
and Military.
Military.
Like ape, AIP.
Yeah, you must watch this video because it is showing that basically in a war situation, you've got a giant military apparatus, and it's very difficult to coordinate it. There's all these like different units, different pieces of information, and you need, in the past, you needed like operators and groups of operators and all this like control systems. But now they can just get rid of that. They can automate away a lot of the expensive, like having to maintain like a military hierarchy. There is another article that people should watch, should read, sorry. It's called Lavender. So Lavender, the AI machine directing Israel's bombing spree in Gaza. So it's called Lavender AI. And it's by a publication called 972 Mag. This one's very crazy. It's basically saying like how when Israel invaded Gaza, they actually used an automated AI system to automate a lot of the killing, a lot of the violence. So it basically is like a system that was just like, because they have all these munitions, bombs, and they want to know where. It's like dirty bombs. It's not like targeted bombs, but they kind of want to know how to most efficiently allocate the bombs. And this AI system, it's like just manufacturing targets, and not even military targets, but anything to do with like administration, the governance, etc. And it was just like a huge AI system directing like the entire kill spree, and it's from insiders in the Israeli, what's it called, Unit 8200, and basically they said like at some point for them it like crossed over. For them, they were like, okay, this is like something inhumane that I'm supporting. I want to tell the press about it, and it's like several inside sources, and they have like documentation and everything, and it's pretty crazy because it's an AI system. The third thing I'll talk about is the drones, like how the drones have changed modern warfare. And we're not just talking about like a drone that goes and does something. We're talking about literally a mobile surveillance platform, literally a surveillance platform that can cover an entire country aerially. It's like a real-time Google Maps. And it's like fully automated. It's got AI, it's got infrared, it's got like loads of stuff in there. And anybody who walks underneath it can be eliminated. And you're like, okay, I'm not a soldier, etc. Why would I care about this? Well, first of all, you're not a soldier yet. Like you don't know, what your government's like. Everybody's like, oh, Western government, that's so far away. That's so far away from what we have now. I mean, okay, let's say Palantir and the state do merge, or big tech and the state do merge. It's fully possible. They start doing horrendous shit. They start kidnapping kids, whatever, like there's like an elite class. They're like, oh, let's import bioweapons, let's weaponize, let's create bioweapons to target, traditional communities, to break up families, whatever, like to disintegrate society more than they already have, and it gets really fucking bad. Like things are like already really bad But let's say it get really, really bad. It's like, what do people do? They're like, oh, we need to do something, but there's nothing left for us to do. We can't vote for anyone, you know, because there's I don't know, like it's so corrupt, or there's no voting anymore, or whatever, you know. And they're like, I don't know, people being put in jail, whatever. Like, okay, I need to do something. I need to, you know, Americans like, oh yeah, we've got the right to bear arms. Let's go do something. But you can't, because they literally eliminated that, because they've got a huge mobile aerial surveillance platform, which like can cover an entire country. It's like drone system. It's automated by AI. It's got infrared optics, all of that shit. That's terrible. What the fuck, player? How are we going to oppose that? But and then second of all, what if you're not even a soldier? What if they're just like, what if they're just like, we don't like that guy. We don't like the way that guy walks. He doesn't walk like a slave. You know, in ancient Greece, the Spartans actually had an institution on the Helots. The Helots outnumbered them 10-1. The Spartans were a very small ethnic group that was controlling this like entire region. But the Helots could never rebel against the Spartans, because Spartans kept them in check. And one of the ways that they did that is they actually had an institution called the Cryptia, where they went out every year. Like each group would target one village, and they'd look, and they're like, who is in that village the guy, you know, who looks the strongest, he has the most swagger, he has charisma, etc. And you know, they'd take them out. They'd take out all the guys that could have some kind of, you know, rebellious nature or against the Spartans. It was effective. It like really kept them in check. And not only that, there's like stories that the Helots internalized their slavery so much, it like actually, I don't know, maybe it became like biologically embedded in them, that when the Corinthians invaded, you know, they would get the Helots and they'd be like, look, you're free now. The Spartans, you're free from the Spartans. And they even asked them, like, they'd be like, oh, you know, insult your master. And they'd refuse to. They would refuse to insult their masters, because that's how like enslaved they were. So like crypto is not just like, oh yeah, you know, oh, I want to buy some drugs on the internet. Oh, I want to like, you know, I want to, you know, send some money around to, you know, dodgy causes or whatever. No, it's more than that. It's like preservation of culture, preservation of liberty, preservation of thought, free spaces in the internet, you know. But it's good that they're like trying to shut it down. You know, other people are like, oh, you know, we need to stop them. I say let them come. You know, let them drive it underground. We will be forced to come up with solutions. I think we should. It's like, what's the alternative? Like keeping things as they are? Like, you know, people complacent, like boiling frogs. No, let's like make it happen. You know, we'll force us to come up with ingenious methods, and you know, people will be like, oh, you know, I used to enjoy, you know, watching that video on the internet. You know, like I don't know, things on YouTube or whatever, and they'd be like, okay, let's check out other video platforms. Let's check out other communication platforms which aren't censored. Like today, I just saw someone was censored from Twitter. I thought Twitter was like a free speech platform. Obviously not. Like they're censoring people for saying stuff on Twitter. So, you know, that's obviously not real.
No, what is
Yeah,
it?
Amir, let's try to focus a bit on what we can actually do and the positives of this whole AI revolution and the privacy tools that we have. For example, I think we are living in the golden age of open source AI models that you can run locally. And I think something like Qwen version 3.6 is just mind-blowing. There's also Gamma by Google, which is pretty good. It's open source. There's Llama by Facebook, if I'm not mistaken, or Meta, whatever they call it. There's OpenClaw, there's Hermes, there's a bunch of these which are absolutely mind-blowing, and you can run them on GPUs that you already have, or a Mac Mini, or whatever that you buy for your home computing experience. It's just amazing the stuff that you can do at home. And also with the privacy tools that we have today, there's Nym. I'm sorry that Harry had to go, but Nym is incredible for what it does with the mixnet. There's also Zcash and Monero, and there's DarkFi that's coming out, and we have all of these tools, and we have Signal and a lot of cool stuff that we can use today, and we can just, like, can you mention some small steps that anyone listening can take just to improve their privacy overall?
Okay.
I mean, Chris probably also can say stuff, but I'd just say like try Tor browser. Look at Linux. Linux has really good privacy tools. You mentioned AI stuff, like the agentic programming. You know, I guess people using Claude a lot. I use FireJail. FireJail creates like a little, you know, closed jail. You should run the AI inside the FireJail so it can't access your computer and do weird shit. There's 3 good tips. Oh, I'm using a graphene phone. Also, I randomize my IMEI number. I have like a portable router called the Moody 4G, and I'm running Blue Merle on there. So that's something that I'm actually paranoid about, is them tracking our phones, tracking our location, using our SIM cards. They do that with the IMEI number. So get this portable router. You know, you can buy disposable SIMs, chuck them away, randomize your IMEI. Graphene phone, Linux, that's operating system level. Nym for the VPN. Tor is cool. You can access like hidden services on there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a bunch of good ones, marketplaces, etc. Nym, you can access, you know, the web. You can do web stuff. You know, the AI, Nano GPT is pretty good. You can make an anonymous account with onionmail.org email, and you can fund it with Monero. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, so Nano GPT is this interface basically where instead of paying for a subscription, you pay for the usage that you generate from the service. And I think you have access to Claude, you have access to pretty much everything without any identity tied to it, without your credit card or whatever. So nobody knows exactly who you are, you're just an account number. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think those are my tips.
Just to kind of piggyback on that, I think for, you know, like non-developers in the space, I think even like tools like Fileverse for their for documents, it's like more of a private Google type of docs for people to start thinking about you know, keeping your intellectual property and your thoughts, you know, your business notes private. You know, a lot of this has to be done in stages, I think, for anybody. I mean, it was for me. I didn't you know, I didn't become like a incognito commando overnight. It's all stages. I think it's definitely important for people to stop using VPNs that have data breaches. I haven't tried Nym. I personally use vp.net currently, but I'm not, you know, whatever you're going to use, Nym, vp.net, or any
I think
VPN that is
Vlad is also good, and there's ivpn.net also. It's pretty good in my experience. Usually the ones that let you pay with Bitcoin or Monero or Zcash or something that has better privacy and does not ask you for any KYC data, and they generate an account number, that's pretty good, as opposed to asking for email or any sign-up data. Like if your VPN asks you for anything for registration, that's pretty bad because you already have to trust them with your real IP address, right? Because they are the ones who know, and they're telling you that they don't hold any logs. Some of them have sophisticated technology that justifies not holding logs. Others just have a policy where they say, well, trust me, bro, I'm not doing any of this. But it happened with, I think, NordVPN. It got breached, and a lot of people were using it. It was super popular like 6-7 years ago. Every YouTuber was saying that he's sponsored by NordVPN. And there's also like this conglomerate of VPNs. I think NordVPN and Surfshark and the ExpressVPN, if I'm not mistaken, are just part of the same few companies that own a lot of services, private internet access, whatever. Just stay away from them. I think the ones that are good are Mulvad, Nym, IVPN, VP.net, and I'm not sure if there's anything else out there. You can correct me, Amir. Maybe you can run your own VPN. You can just download the software on your Raspberry Pi and you connect to that one locally.
I think it's even great if people get back into building their own cyber, build your own cyber deck, start becoming like an all-around technologist for everybody. Because you really don't want to, it kind of goes back to, well, they have a gun, like Amir was saying. Well, so do I. I don't want to be at the mercy of whoever, really. And you kind of want to know how the technology you're using works. Even though it's been abstracted away, we see what the ease of use has led to, right? Like it's, you have to give up all your data, all your privacy, all your movement, sometimes your thoughts, if you're really not too careful. I think we lost Amir for a minute. I'm sure he'll be back. You probably pressed it on accident. I didn't want to get too far away from the question. From the VPN question. Oh, because I'll just keep going. I'm a gawk, and I'll just keep talking.
Yeah, I mean, the point of a VPN is to deal with your adversary, which is the websites that you're accessing, and give them inaccurate information, to say the least. Like, try to not tell them exactly where you're from, what your ISP is, and also give them the opportunity to ban you or whatever. So that's one way you can use it. You can also use it for what the YouTubers are telling you to, that you can unlock different Netflix movies if you're into that. I think it's a bit silly, but it works for that sometimes. So yeah. I'm not gonna knock on it. You can also use it for flights when they use cookies or whatever and they remember that you searched for something before and then they increase the price. But you also should pick a good browser. Like, I think Firefox is amazing and has been amazing for 2 decades. I think Brave is doing a good job. And I'm not sure if any browser is good. So you have Firefox and Brave. These are pretty good.
Yeah, that's a cool shirt, man. Yeah, I use Brave. That's a cool shirt. It come in black, man?
Sorry, what did you say?
Does that come in black?
Yep, there's a black one.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. I like that.
But I think the white is better because it's like a white base. So the black, when it stretches, it kind of, the logos look less vivid. I'll show you the black.
You made him change his shirt.
You got it handy.
I mean, I wouldn't mind if Amir took off his shirt on the live stream. Maybe we would get more views.
Oh, yeah.
Now we all take off our shirts.
There it is. That's how we're doing it. We're gonna do the dance.
What's the dance?
The Zcash dance.
Yeah. It's...
Oh.
There it is.
This.
Well, that's the black one.
Oh, that one is classy. I like it.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's cool. The white one's cool. I'm just more.
Oh, okay. I guess the black's better.
Congratulations on getting in shape, Amir. I know you've been working on it.
I mean, to be honest, I've been in shape a long time. I've just been losing weight recently as I switched. But when you lose weight, people suddenly notice that you're not fat. You've actually got a lot of muscle underneath. I've been muscular quite a long time. Just
nice view.
Aren't you
Yeah.
doxing your location right now? Or is everything like a virtual background?
Huh?
Huh?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Aren't you doxing your location right now?
I mean, random people on the internet go, "Can I come visit you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Here's my address." So, wait, I'll be.
I think we lost him again.
Yeah, I think something happens where it freezes and then it just dies completely.
Yeah. He's gonna be back. This is entertaining. Like, I can't recall a single boring interview with Amir. I think this is the third one maybe that I do with him.
It's it's really not strange, but how synchronicity works. On the way back from where I was coming from last night, I had his talk on, like his most recent talk on YouTube. Instead of listening to music, I was listening to him talk about DarkFi, and it's just like kind of surreal to be in, like just to speak with him for the first time. The very next day is it's just weird how the universe puts things in your path sometimes,
Yeah, man, it's very spontaneous. Yesterday, I was thinking I was gonna interview Zach from Foundation Devices to talk about hardware wallets, and then he told you, maybe we should do it next week, and then I was like, oh no, I need a guest for today, and I ended up having 3 of them. I really liked this outcome. I think it worked.
Very
good.
cool. I wish we could have kept Harry for a couple more minutes. He's a wealth of knowledge, really. Very articulate.
Oh yeah, and he's been an activist for all sorts of privacy stuff for a long time. So I have great respect for him, especially given his background. It would be so easy for Harry to sell out.
Right. Oh, and here's Amir.
Sorry about that. Okay.
It's all good, sir. So, do you guys like Zcash? Do you want to receive some from Cake Wallet?
That'd be awesome. For sure.
Free money.
It's shielded.
I was just with the Zcash guy.
What was that?
I was just hanging out with the Zcash guy.
Can you tell us who it was, or is that confidential?
I don't know if he wants me to tell people. I'd have to ask him.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I actually met Zuka when I visited the US 2 months ago.
Oh, how was the US? Where did you go in the US?
When or where?
Where?
Denver. It was the Ethereum Denver conference, which happened to have a Bitcoin stage in the middle of it.
Oh, how was the Denver? I've heard it's like a very big, popular conference. I've never been able to go because I can't go to the US.
I mean, it was one of the smallest. They were talking about having like 3-4 times fewer attendees compared to last year. And it was also desolating that everyone's talking, especially in the Ethereum space, about AI and agents using the technology. So it seems like they gave up on making anything useful for humans. They're like, okay, we tried, the humans don't want it, let's just build this for agents. And I don't know. We're kind of missing the point. We're drifting a bit.
I mean, I think Ethereum, though, originally the concept of a DAO was not actually like people voting in a thing. It was actually like agents controlling a treasury. And Ethereum, like for a long time, they were really into this idea of like using incentives and like rational kind of, I don't know what you call it, like tokenomic kind of systems. I mean, that's the whole thing Glenn Weil was doing, to like engineer societies before they kind of gave up on it. So if they're kind of going back to that kind of talk, it wouldn't be out of place. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, they put out their like manifesto recently, so surely they should be doing that.
But how are we doing this? We're just holding it up to the thing, or what are we doing? The
If you
QR
have
code?
Cake Wallet with a Zcash wallet, then you
So
can
the
try
thing
to
is,
show me your QR code and I'll try to scan it.
the thing is, I'm using graphene. So if I go to my Cake Wallet, I'm gonna get
Can you move it a bit towards you so it focuses better? Yeah,
this stream will drop.
it's blurry
So
still.
It's too blurry,
Yeah,
like that.
keep it
maybe?
closer to yourself. Because I think the camera is out of focus when you get things too close
Got
to
it.
it. But still, it's blurry.
Want me to just send you the address?
Yeah, I think that works better.
Yeah. Sorry, tried.
Yeah,
Does it work sometimes like that?
it
Yeah?
does. Yeah,
Yeah?
it did in the past. And I was like, okay, this is so convenient. But it also
just-
shows people that we are actually using Cake. So it encourages
better.
them to install it. Even if
I use
we
it
can't
for
scan
loads of
QRs.
stuff. I use it for like, I'm using all, I don't know why, I'm using like Unstoppable Wallet for Bitcoin, and I'm using Cake Wallet for Ethereum. Strange, huh?
I mean, you're special, Amir. But Unstoppable is also a good
right,
one. I like it. It's slick. And it can have that Chad logo. Did you see that? You can have the Giga Chad logo for your Unstoppable wallet.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I mean, the app icon. You go to the settings, you can change the icon.
Very cool.
I sent you a message on whatchamacallit. On
Signal?
yeah. I just want to verify that's
Got it, yeah.
yeah, okay, so here.
How much Zek are we getting?
What's that, Amir?
How much Zek?
0.33, which is like $100.
Whoa, that's quite sizable. All right, let me figure this out.
Fixed course.
You know, when
Did the
you
wrong-
join the interview by yourself, Amir, you're gonna get a full Zek. I promise you.
Ah,
Wow, that's crazy. But how do I do this? Because I need to. Oh,
Okay, it
Mhm,
says
well-
0.3 right here.
I'm
I
on the
swipe
phone with the
the
wallet,
screen.
so I don't know how.
And Christopher, you should get it.
I'm not that smart. Can't figure this out.
Thanks Cake Wallet for doing this. They're doing this really nice wallet. And I also gotta plug the rest of the sponsors. If you are into gambling, which means trading with leverage, you can try Orange Rock because they have a very nice interface with everything included. It looks a lot like what you find on Hyperliquid, but nicer. And you get really good privacy. Like, they don't ask you to set up an account, they don't ask you for anything. You just download the app for Orange Rock and it works. It's from the bitcoin.com team, who have been sponsoring the show for like a couple of years now, and it's like their new product. Check it out if you can. It's really nice. There's also Braiins Hash Power. You got your Zach, Christopher?
yeah, yes I did. Thank you. Amazing.
Yeah,
Super cool.
without permission, and nobody can find it on a public ledger. That's really cool. Braiins Hash Power, if you ever want to rent SHA-256 hash power for any purpose, like maybe you want to do a lottery ticket to see if you can solo mine a block, maybe that you want a 51% attack BCH or BSV. Don't sue me, Craig. I'm just saying you can. I'm not saying that anyone should. But you can use the hash rate for whatever you want and direct it to anything that you want to mine. Check it out. It's from Braiins, which used to be called Slush Pool, and that's the first Bitcoin company and mining pool in the history of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's a really cool service. And there's
Wow,
also
super interesting. Sorry, what's the name of Slush again? He was like really early in Bitcoin.
oh, you mean the guy?
The mining pool.
Oh, now it's
is-
Braiins with a double I,
Okay, interesting.
because he sold the company to two guys named Ian from the Czech Republic, and it's Braiins, and the two I's are the two guys who own it currently. But yeah, it's the oldest and most principled mining pool in Bitcoin. Really cool. Layer 2 Labs, also a sponsor. They're building the Drive chain, which is basically a side chain for every altcoin out there. They have an altcoin for assets like USDT and Ethereum tokens. They have a side chain for a big block version of Bitcoin, which has a high throughput, so 8 billion people can transact immediately. Has a sidechain for Zcash, which is fungible by default, and a lot of other cool stuff. Check it out. layer2labs.com/download is where you can try the software. Currently, it runs on a Bitcoin Signet because the core developers don't want to merge BIP300. But you can see if this is the technology that you want on Bitcoin and if this is the kind of future that you want for the network. And last but not least, SideShift, which is the place where you can swap what you receive from someone and you don't really like. I'm not gonna knock on the Dash people, but one time someone offered to send me some Dash and I was like, I never used Dash for anything. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't get what's the point of it. It's sort of like a sophisticated version of Bitcoin, if you ask me. I was like, okay, just send it to me. And then I sent it to SideShift and swapped it for some more Bitcoin. It works pretty good. And the fees are low, the liquidity is good. Not available in the US, unfortunately, because of some regulations out there. But yeah, it's a cool service. Check it out. It's SideShift, SIDESHIFT.ai. Thanks for sitting for my ads. And Amir, I also need to send you some Zek if you can figure out how.
I will give you the cake wallet, specifically the cake wallet thing.
Yeah, you can send me the
I have
address.
the Rashi and then like other stuff, but I'll give you the cake wallet if there's a cake thing.
Okay, now it's called Zadel. It's not Zashi anymore.
I have actually Zashi, but yeah, I should upgrade the Zodor. You're right.
They've rebranded.
They had like a very interesting story with developers getting into a conflict with the board of the electric coin company. And I think this was back in January of this year. And the headlines at the time, especially from the Monero people who don't like them, were like, oh, look at them. They quit building on Zcash and they rug pulled everyone and the price is going down and whatever. They started a new company which is called Zadel, and they also took the repository and everything from the electric coin company. So there was a smooth transition to the new wallet, which is same as the old one, except that it has a different name. And yeah, now it's not called Zashi anymore, it's Zadel. But everyone's still building on Zcash, don't worry.
I didn't know the backstory to all that. I thought they just rebranded it because it sounded better.
No. It was a copyright. I think that there's a lot of stuff that Zcash needs to get rid of, like trademarks and whatever.
Very cool.
They're like a legacy ball and chain that they need to carry. And as the project gets more decentralized and bigger, it's only gonna strike them back every time. I think last year in November or December there was someone who was trying to use the Zcash branding for building something like a shady treasury company, and the Zcash Foundation, I think now it's called ECC, they sort of sued this person for using the intellectual property. And in a way they were trying to prevent someone from scamming, but at the same time it just proves that, you know, the project is not as decentralized as it should be.
Well, they're on the right track anyway.
Yeah, I love what they're building.
Yeah, they've done a lot for the industry. Definitely kind of got the privacy pump going recently, not long ago, whenever that all, a couple months ago.
I think this was back in October or November. And it does seem like privacy became more cool. When I was attending other conferences, they were talking much more about privacy and wanting to add features from Zcash. So they definitely started a conversation. I think Zcash was ahead of its time when it first came out. and the hardware was not ready yet. The cryptography was not fully baked. So they needed time to fully refine the product. Tornado Cash actually could not exist without the Zcash libraries. What it did was basically use the programmability of Ethereum to create something like a Zcash shielded pool using the ZK Snarks library. So essentially, Tornado Cash and Railgun are just Zcash on Ethereum.
Kind of an interesting, you know, they what was I gonna say? There's a book coming out for people who would probably want to understand a little bit better from I can't think of the gentleman's name off the top of my head, but it's called Zero Knowledge. It comes out in May. I'm kind of looking forward to reading that book because there's really not too much really good literature that you could hold in your hand about the industry. So kind of excited for that book to see how he goes about explaining the zero knowledge to people who don't understand. See if I could pick up some pointers and pass that information along to others.
When's that coming out? What's that book?
It's called Zero Knowledge. It's on May 12th.
Very cool.
.NET dude. What's his name? I forgot. I can't think. There's too many names running through my head. Too much information.
No, I got you. It sounds cool.
Yeah, I'm choking under pressure.
Well, to be honest, like if you pick up the old school book, which is Applied Cryptography by Bruce Schreier, you're gonna see that he does have a chapter about zero knowledge proofs, but at the time in the 90s, it was very theoretical. Nobody actually put that into practice. I think the best way to understand the principle of zero knowledge proofs and how verification works is a presentation by Zuko, where he's basically explaining how two parties are negotiating and asking each other the same question hundreds of times until it's assumed that there's no reason to lie anymore.
Kinda. He's using 100 questions as like a binary.
Yeah.
As a binary. There's samples like some random point on a curve. But yeah, it's a similar principle.
Anyway, Amir, you're also using ZK Snarks, I think, for
We're actually using
Halo 2 for DarkFi.
Yeah. Yep. So Zcash wrote all that code, which is great.
I think you're the only Monero guy who uses Zcash that the Monero people really like.
Really? I didn't know I was liked by Monero people, I guess.
Oh, they love you.
Oh, okay.
You also had the Monero channel just a minute ago.
Oh, yeah.
You know that hopefully some of the tribalism can go, we could come together a little bit just for the benefit of some of these guys going up against the system.
But they also have K-pop demon hunters.
Oh, check that out. It's pretty cool.
Do you have anything with Lara Croft? Amir, I know that she was a big influence when it comes to you becoming a video game developer at first and then a programmer in C++.
Yeah. Also, there's my box. Dead box. Pretty cool. And fossils.
It feels like this is a talk about privacy, but we're actually on MTV Cribs with Amir.
Oh, really? I was thinking to do more like kind of Twitter spaces where I'm just hanging out and talking about stuff with people. Because other people do it, but I got to like listen to them and they've got nothing to talk about. Like, oh, we could do better. We need to bring Ray Youssef. on this chat, but he always says crazy stuff. I remember last time I was on the chat with him and a bunch of Bitcoiners, like libertarian kind of Bitcoiners, and he goes, you know what crypto needs? We need a strong leader. We need like some kind of strong leader, like a certain you know who, a certain Austrian painter. And somebody in the chat started going, all the Bitcoiners were like, they're like, what? And then he kind of flipped out and he went, look, you guys just aren't ready to wake up. You don't get it, are you? He just kind of left the chat. And then me and Harry were like,
You're cutting out for some
Sorry,
reason,
go on.
Amir. I think your signal is weak
oh,
in this part of the house or something.
my battery's about to die on the phone. My phone's about to die.
And I haven't sent you your Zcash yet. But you guys, so let's do the giveaway to someone in the chat. I've asked people to pick a number from 1 to 100. And I feel like it's unfair because some people picked like 10 numbers. And I don't know how to deal with that. Because it's not a fair competition if someone basically has 10% chance of guessing. Because they picked a lot of numbers. So
Right.
should I disqualify these people or should I only count the first or the last number that they mentioned?
Around, average it to a number they didn't even
That's
pick.
too much work. Like I should
Yeah,
average
you're
it.
It's true.
If they put 10 numbers, I should actually add them up and divide by 10. No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, probably the first number. Make
First
it easy.
number is fair. Okay. So Harry said 98, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
What's your number, Christopher?
77.
Okay. 98 plus 77. And what's your number? Oh, he dropped.
Wow.
We're not gonna find out. It gives more people more time to pick a number. Okay, so this is your last chance. If you
That's
picked a
fine.
number previously, I'm gonna disregard it. Only from now on, the numbers are gonna be counted.
I
Right
hope he
here, right
plugs
now.
the phone. He's got to plug his phone in.
Yeah, he has to. But this was very unconventional and fun. I love it. Like, it's not like my regular interviews where we run through a list of questions and we debate the topic. It was all over the place. It's beautiful.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you you inviting me on. Yeah, this was great. Very cool.
Man, as soon as I found out what you're doing, I mean, I've been seeing your stuff on Twitter. It's just that I see a lot of people following the Tornado Cash case. I also see Lola, the lady from Rage.
Yeah.
The Rage, yeah. That's the name of the publication. She's posting pictures and she's getting people to rally and really support Roman. And yeah, I mean, I do respect the fact that you're taking time of your day, and I'm pretty sure that you could be doing something much more productive to make money or whatever. But instead, you're voluntarily going to court to listen, to sit through these hearings and listen to what's going on, report to people, tell them exactly what's wrong with the US government and the way that they prosecute something which is related to writing software essentially. But their issue is that it led to some people getting privacy when they were not supposed to or whatever. And I think they're just trying to create a martyr, just like they did with Ross Ulbricht.
Right. And then they threw, you know, and interesting enough, it kind of just inspires more people, not to do the same, but to maybe even, you know, to make the ecosystem more robust, even if they're not going to support Roman with their physical time, or, you know, or anything like that, but maybe it forces some other people to build in the space, you know, because we have enough NFTs to go around. I don't think we need another NFT, marketplace or anything like that. But, it's almost forced me to attempt to build certain projects out that I feel are needed. And, we'll see where it goes from here for me with that. I enjoy educating and turning people their attention to things. And, I'm lucky enough to be in New York, in the belly of the beast, to be in the middle of, the trial and everything. So it really, it's just like a combination of different things working together. Plus, I know what it's like to sit in a similar situation. Obviously, not anything along the lines of a software case, but when you're all alone and you feel like the world is against you, even one or two people who are there supporting you can make a big difference. So even on a personal level for Roman, or whoever it might have been that built this, I feel, kind of an honorable spot to do that and just give some sort of moral support, because that's a tough situation, man. The entire government versus you, that's rough.
I do have to ask you, what's your background? What were you doing before you became interested in the trial of Roman Storm?
So doing freelance work in just the regular, web, and attempting to build out projects in the space, and hopefully something would catch on. I have a website. I build in the Solana space, trying to turn them into a more privacy focused type of network, I guess you could say, just by building applications and hopefully they catch on, right? Because that's really what it is getting the right attention on certain things. I have this thing, shadowranch.xyz. It's kind of like a cypherpunk gamified tutorial. It teaches some Solana basics of how to code. It has gamified coding challenges in it. It's got like a little current events about what's going on in the industry. And right now I'm building a anonymous version control launchpad, so people don't have to put their stuff on GitHub. So we'll see how this one works out. I'm still architecting and in the early stages of that, but it's more than ideation, but not an MVP just yet. Yeah, so I take shots. I build things and hopefully they catch on. Otherwise, I'm doing freelance work for businesses in the that need tech work done. More tech consultant, I guess, would be a better term at this point, rather than freelance. I guess that's overused. It's more like tech consultant work.
When or how did you get into Bitcoin?
So I first heard about Bitcoin in 2012. No technical background. I was doing PI work at the time. I was a private investigator. And I heard from Charlie Shrem speak one day, and then I got myself down to the Bitcoin storefront. I guess it was the Bitcoin magazine storefront on Wall Street, and like threw everything I had in understanding what was going on with Bitcoin. I had I didn't know how to code an HTML page. I had no idea what no clue. So it took me about 3 weeks to figure out how to even obtain Bitcoin. And it wasn't Silk Road that necessarily drew me to it. It was the further reaching implications. I always had like a problem with the banks, because we just watched what was going on with the housing crisis. And I really turned a lot of my attention toward this space.
I'm just
Yeah,
curious because at the time there was like a Bitcoin center in New York. Did you meet with any of the guys like Nick Spanos, and there was also Naomi Brockwell and Peter Vesines, I think, was also there.
So the one person that I remember meeting was Charlie, that stuck
Charlie
out.
Shrem?
Yeah, Charlie Shrem. And my head was kind of, I guess I was in my late 20s. I had a lot of stuff going on at that point that was not Bitcoin. And it was just like a more confusing time for me. It wasn't until a couple of years later, more than a couple, that I really turned my attention toward learning how to develop software on my own on a very, obviously, you have to begin how you begin and then just gradually building up. And I felt like the space, you know, you can only complain so long, right? Like, oh, we need somebody to do this. We need somebody should be doing this. So I just started doing it. You know, like somebody should be saying something, I'll say something. Someone should go here, I'll go here. This needs to be built. I'll try to build it and see if it sticks. So that's what I devote kind of all my free time to. I've had some, you know, grant money to keep certain projects going. Other things die on the vine. You know, hopefully could come back to it later, or it's just a shit idea and it dies, you know. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with this.
Yeah, Bitcoin in 2012, 2013 was really something else.
Wild.
There's a really good documentary that's out there. After watching this, you should really go on YouTube, I think. I think it's also on Netflix and a bunch of other streaming services. It's called The Rise and Rise of Bitcoin, and it's amazing. It shows you all of these figures, all of these OGs who talk openly about their motivations. I think if you really listen to it and you get their ideological background and their whole purpose for being involved in this movement, you're gonna realize that nothing much has changed over the years. Like, you're gonna find the exact same discourse today on Twitter or from people who are just discovering Bitcoin and they're learning about it. It's amazing that nothing much has changed, but at the same time, it's kind of sad that the network has not improved in a significant way.
You know, I'm sure you feel the same way. When I read Hijacking Bitcoin, literally like when it first came out, because Roger really, his line of thought kind of helped guide my thought process around certain things. I identified with it. And I read Hijacking Bitcoin, and it was almost like your childhood sweetheart, like going steady with the guy next door. It was like, what? Like almost earth shattering, like, oh my God, and you could see little cracks and you kind of ignored it. But putting everything together was like, all right, this has to go a different way, but so it's all wide open. Let's get this ZEC to Amir. I'll talk for the next 6 hours.
Yeah, so Amir actually sent me his address
Oh,
in a
nice.
private message before he joined again. I'm gonna
Perfect.
swipe the screen, and now he's gonna get his $100 of Zcash. Congratulations, sir.
Nice.
And Amir must also pick a number from 1 to 100. I think Harry picked 98, and you, Christopher, picked 77.
Yes.
We gotta hear what Amir.
4.
4 plus 4. Should I add them and divide by 3, or should I do something else with them?
What do you mean? For what?
Because Harry picked a number, Christopher picked a number, and you picked a number, and I need to turn these 3 numbers into one. Am I gonna do an average, or should I deduct
What if you
from...
get decimal?
What's that?
What if you get decimal?
What decimal? Oh, it doesn't matter. I just picked the closest one from the chat, so...
Yeah, but what if it's 0.5? Do you round up or round down?
I'm just gonna pick 2 winners if they have the 2 numbers that...
Take the average. Take the average.
I'll do the average. So 98 plus 77 plus 4, you can see it on my screen, I hope,
There it is.
equals
79.
179, which is not divisible by 3. It's 59.666666667. So
I think you've got to round up.
I guess it's 60.
yeah, it's 60. So let's see if anyone said 60 in the chat. I guess this is the last message which I'll be accepting. Someone said 100. How could it be 100, man? Like, they picked numbers which are not even close. Someone said 62, which is the closest so far. There's another 60. Oh, there's a 60. Okay, Think Big Stories said 60.
How many people in the group chat?
I think that's the winner. Nobody else, as far as I can tell, said 60. There's a 64, but no. You gotta pick 60, man. There's the person who picked 60, and I gotta check if there was anyone else earlier who did this. As far as I can tell, no. But I keep scrolling. Okay, I got to the point where I said that I'm not gonna consider anymore. Yeah, so this is the winner. Think
Nice.
big stories. Congratulations, you won one whole Zcash.
Good score, Fink. Very nice.
You're a rich person. Okay, so I'm gonna contact you. I'm gonna figure out a way to reach out to you. So I'm sure that there will be impersonators or whatever. Amir is celebrating.
That's how we celebrate in my part of the world.
Take that.
Chica. Do the chesting.
Man, for someone who's on lists and gets detained every time he travels, you're having way too much fun.
I mean, I'm on a live stream
Best to be informal.
of audience. So I'm trying to keep morale high for our online army, for our
Yes.
Pepe army. So when we do raids, the raids will overwhelm the enemy and trample them underfoot.
Just want to point out, great graphic design with the characters. Very I was very impressed with that, by the way.
Thank you very much. Have you seen it, Amir? Have I sent it to you? Yeah, I have.
Yeah, they're like little vampires.
Oh yeah.
Is that because we're in Romania?
Yes, you are.
Oh, damn.
Full with the hat
So
and
it's
everything.
true. I thought that was unfair stereotype. It's actually true. Interesting.
I mean, where do you think that these global elites got their inspiration from?
I don't know. Baal worship, ancient Canaanite religion from the Lebanese.
Or maybe they just read about there was this medieval lady from Hungary, I think Elizabeth Bathory, correct me if I'm wrong, but she was known for drinking the blood of babies and bathing in the blood of young girls and stuff like this. She got arrested in her time. I think she was even convicted to a death sentence or something for dozens of murders.
It's pretty wicked.
Wow, very interesting.
And she
Pretty
was
wicked.
like from a noble family, so it's not like she was just someone from the village who suddenly decided to go on a killing spree.
I always got a kick out of that title, noble. We see a lot of not noble actions come out of the noble class. That's another story for another time.
I think the more
Let's
correct
kill
term
him.
at the time was like land owner or whatever, because the peasants working the land did not own anything. They're just
Let's do a
slaves.
global terror attack.
Now the peasants can build decentralized systems and operate outside the purview of tyrannical governments. So things have changed in our favor, I would say.
Man, sometimes I get so optimistic because we are allegedly, at least according to statistics and the number of us that went to university, we're the most educated generation, right? We went to university in higher numbers than our parents. So I have hope that at least some of us are gonna make it big and do something significant and meaningful. We have all the tools at our disposal. All that matters is that we channel our energy towards building something meaningful, and we have the right kind of moral compass, which is also useful. But at the same time, it gets depressing when you see people you had expectations from and you realize that they don't care or they don't achieve anything. They just want to get paid at their job, and that's what they want. Like, oh, maybe it will happen in 10 years when they wake up. Who knows? But
Well, can't wait on anybody else. It's basically up to us, whoever us is, right? Like, we all decide who we are. So it's up to us.
I think vibe coding has sort of made me more optimistic. I realize now you can make your own open source apps for anything. You can use your old devices that are no longer supported by the manufacturer. You can go Richard Stallman, right? That's what he did. He realized that his printer was not working anymore and the manufacturer didn't care. He just created his own software and he open sourced it.
I mean, Stallman's story is instructive on how autism is a superpower.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Imagine extreme weaponized autism. Nothing can hold you back. You're like, I'm gonna make an operating system. You're like, that can't be done. And you're like, watch me. Nothing's stopping me. You're like, that's a mighty big task. I'm gonna fucking do it. That's what he did. Crazy. I mean, mad respect to him.
Yeah, he's the right kind of crazy to start a movement and to keep it going, because people complain about him. They're like, oh, he's so much like a princess or whatever. He has like a list of demands and he's very difficult to deal with and he's insufferable most of the times. But it's the right kind of personality to actually inspire people to do something.
I've had to deal with that shit.
If he was too likable, this movement could not grow in the same way. Also, the guy who created Linux, like Linus Torvalds, or Linus, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but I think he's European, so it's Linus. Like, he's very toxic in his work environment, but it's exactly what it takes to maintain a very lean and efficient kernel for the system. I wish I could say the same about Bitcoin, but there's not much happening, unfortunately.
Bitcoin will live on through the other projects. That's the, you know, the idea of Bitcoin and what was made. That's how I kind of view the whole thing. It'll live on through other projects.
If you think of Bitcoin as Linux, and you read the white paper,
make a quantum computer and steal the Bitcoins.
Well, I did not get that, Amir, sorry.
Let's make a quantum computer and steal the Bitcoins. Let's hack it. Let's kidnap the developers and take it down.
I don't adhere to the second part, but the quantum computer part sounds interesting.
Trying to give ideas here, inspiration. I'm kind of an ideas person. I don't do the things, just give the ideas. I'm going to do a terror attack on Bitcoin.
Should do it live on Spaces.
Yeah. They won't know what's going to hit them.
If you look at Bitcoin like Linux and you realize, okay, it's just a code base and maybe that the first iteration was just the blueprint for how we can build better stuff. I mean, that's also empowering once you get outside of the dogma that there should be only one network and all the others are shitcoins.
Yeah.
But it's also discouraging because you realize that Bitcoin is not successful because of the tech, it's because of the people who use it. And it's very hard to break the monopoly because objectively it's useful to a lot of people.
It's so easy to troll Bitcoiners. They get mad so easily.
They're the easiest. There's no one easy.
Yeah.
Can you do like a compilation of trolling Bitcoiners, Amir? Like different angles?
I don't know, just say anything factual, and they get mad. I'd have to check my Twitter feed.
If you just just
Oh,
claiming that
if you say
peer-to-peer.
Lightning is shit, that's like a really big one. If you say Lightning was a failure,
Which is objectively true.
Well, you're gonna find a metric, right? If you want to defend anything, you're gonna find a metric by which you're gonna say, well, it's not a failure because they use it in El Salvador. And of course, you haven't been to El Salvador to see what's going on, and you're gonna be like, okay, fine, you can take that win.
okay, do they actually use it in El Salvador?
Thought they had to use custody wallets. Like,
That's
right?
what I thought.
I thought they couldn't even have self-custody. I think the state, like state-sanctioned wallets. See, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I really don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought.
Exactly. Like, you can use this argument and it works. Nobody can actually prove you haven't been there, you haven't spent enough time in El Zonte where they have the Bitcoin beach. You don't know how many people actually use it on a daily basis. And you don't know how many transactions are on the Lightning Network, which is sort of a privacy feature of it. But if you look at the volumes that the exchanges are reporting, because there are exchanges that do support Lightning, you're
Mhm.
going to realize that it's abysmal. When you look at the businesses that support Lightning and you realize that maybe 2 or 3 of them are profitable and the rest of them are just living off the VC money that they raised a few years ago and they're running low and they need like a new angle or a new app or whatever to get more capital, that's also depressing because I've had a couple of guys on the show who are running a very large Lightning routing node. They have like 100 Bitcoin or more on a Lightning node. And their expectation is that they're going to make passive income from the transaction fees. The problem is that there are not that many transaction fees that they're routing, and it's not a good business model.
Brutal. Yeah, it sounds brutal.
So from these points of view, it's a failure. But if you want to use it for some small payments or whatever, and you don't care about the details, it's fine, I think. It's just that I think it has been used. I mean, the Lightning Network has been used to demoralize Bitcoiners and perpetually become more acceptant of custodians.
I see. Interesting.
In
Yeah,
the
I agree
beginning, it was like, okay, it's just $10 in wallet of Satoshi or whatever.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, people say, well, it's hard to run a node. Maybe you should use this custodial Lightning because it works. Strangely enough, I've had failed transactions with custodial wallets.
Yeah, I had what was it, like some Lightning wallet? Because I remember I tried to pay for something. Somebody, it was a Bitcoiner. They were like, they just went like, they were like, I was like, oh, I can't use it, blah blah. And he was like, oh, it's so easy. I was like, all right, well, tell me which wallet to use. And he was like, just download this wallet, use that. And I used the wallet. And then like a few months later, someone was like, oh, you can pay with Lightning. I tried to pay with Lightning, and then I opened it, and it said the payments weren't sending. And then I showed someone, and they're like, oh yeah, that's the Ukrainian wallet. They rugged it, and I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, they rugged it for the war.
Oh, the simple Bitcoin wallet, I think.
Yeah, so I like lost. I had some. I had like quite a bit of Lightning in there, and they just rugged it for the war effort. So that was that.
Yeah, there was also Blue Wallet that had custody of a lot of Bitcoin from small users, and they gave like a few months notice that they're gonna shut down their service, and everyone who did not withdraw from their service basically lost their coins.
Oh, might
Wow.
have been me because I wasn't paying attention.
It was the same with LB, I think. There was like a scandal. LB is another wallet that has both custodial and non-custodial options, but they shut down some service and they gave users like 3 or 4 months to migrate. And if they did not, they lost their coins. And was like a scandal, but I don't know. I think Bitcoiners should accept that we live in a multi-coin world and there's different stuff for different use cases, and unfortunately we're not going to have the one coin to rule them all because Bitcoin does not improve to include all the use cases. We don't even get like opcodes to let builders do interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So if it's going to be this institutional asset, you can't argue with a straight face that it's this cypherpunk project anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, coin joins are cool. If you pay from coin joins, it's also cool. But at some point, I think it's a matter of information, right? Because in the beginning, nobody knows who these participants are. But as they join KYC services and whatever, they sort of give information about their previous transactions, and you can get singled out on a long enough time frame. Are you doing your laundry right now, Amir?
I've got all these chores. I just came back from a long travel, so I'm like holding up this stuff.
Let's see.
I've got like no socks, no underwear.
Good to know. No, I think the right answer to that is me neither.
Oh, we need mamas. I agree.
What's funny is that I had this conversation with Amir 4 months ago that we're gonna do a New Year marathon, and I got sick and I couldn't do it. I was so sick, like I think I had a flu that was worse than COVID. For 10 days I was in bed, knocked out, couldn't do anything.
Well, after I do my laundry, I'm gonna get in the bath. So if you want to join me in the bath, the audience join me in the bath.
No, I'll have to cut out at that point. You need your privacy.
Well, you know, privacy is selectively revealing what you want, and he's choosing to show us, so it's not up to us to judge what is private and what should be private.
You're right.
It would just be like me and the girls on the chat. All the dudes can tune out.
You know, Amir, I suspect that I'm gonna have a lot more gay men watching the podcast now.
Yeah, tune in. We're going to talk about something really important.
I don't think it's gonna be girls. Just like there used to be a magazine in America called Play Girl, which was pictures with muscular men, and it turned out that the audience that was actually buying them was not the intended one. It was not ladies, it was actually gay men.
Oh.
Wicked.
Weird. Oops.
Just like these, I think they have these calendars with firemen who are muscular. It's not girls who buy them.
Oh, really?
They prefer to read novels, like erotic stuff, not watch pictures.
Oh. Interesting. Wonder what kind of porno girls watch. I should ask girls.
Oh, the lame kind, with story and very slow developing. Like, I've actually asked too many questions, and when I found out, I was like, that sucks. I would not enjoy that.
You should get your girlfriend to make you porno, then you never need to look at porno again.
I'm sorry, what?
You should make porno with your girlfriend, then you don't need to look at porno ever again. You have your own porno.
I'm not gonna do that to anyone.
Fellas, I'm gonna have to cut out because I've been putting off a phone call, and I'm gonna have to jump on it because I stalled them as long as I could.
Yeah, I can't get my phone wet in the bath.
It's all good. Thank you very much, Christopher, for joining on such a short notice. I think that what you're doing with the case of Tornado Cash and also with the Samourai Wallet developers is admirable. And I look forward to more of your videos and tweets about what's going on. And maybe that we're gonna do a one-on-one interview also when we have more to talk about. This was like on a short notice, and I got 3 people because.
For sure. No, this was great, and hopefully I could jump this project off by then, and then we'll have even more to talk about.
Thank you very much, sir. Where can people follow you? Where can people follow you? I think you are Cialone Codes.
Yep, on X. Yeah, that's basically the easiest way to find me and my stuff. I don't even bother putting this stuff on Substack anymore. I just put it all on X.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. See you guys later.
See you later, man. Oh.
He left. He's such a character. I love him.
I'll see you later, Vlad.
Okay, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks to the sponsors once again: Braiins Hash Power, Layer 2 Labs, Orange Rock, Cake Wallet, the ones who made the giveaway happen, and siteshift.ai. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one, and stay tuned for more cool stuff.